Hello, I'm Eagle, Eagle Gardens 1 on Instagram. And tonight, this is the Science of l.e.d. with Sergeant Pepper and Greg Sleby from Science l.e.d. And this is fucking Talking Shit with Eagle, episode 134. Hope you guys had an amazing day. Prosperous start to the week. This is going to be an amazing episode. Of course, you see on the screen Sergeant Pepper and Greg Sleby with me tonight. How you guys doing tonight? Sorry about that. This is the Science of l.e.d. There we go. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Thank you guys for joining me. How you guys doing? And tell me how you guys, where we can find you.
Yeah, doing good, man. Doing good. The Director of Cultivation Sciences over at Science l.e.d. Science Cultivation on IG. You can always reach out to me, via the website or on IG anytime. But yeah, chilling here in Arizona. Nice warm night.
This is Sergeant Pepper. This is Sergeant Pepper 420 on IG, and joining you guys from down south, and going over some questions about some Science l.e.ds, especially because I'm a newer user and I'm liking what I'm seeing. So I got some questions, and we figured we'd make a show for you guys about it.
Well, Greg, usually I'm usually the one that kind of runs the show, but as we're good questions meet science, that where Sergeant Pepper falls in. I'm more where the tires meet the roads kind of guy. Specs and whatnot is where Sergeant Pepper falls in. So from this point, I'm going to kind of let Sergeant Pepper take control, and I'm going to kind of sit back and take some notes tonight and learn a little bit. So I may chime in from time to time, but for the moment on, I think I'm going to give control to Sergeant Pepper and let him run with most of the questions. And of course, we'll take some questions from chat also. Are you able to bring up chat, by the way? Both of you guys?
I should be able to.
Questions from chat.
Yeah, I got chat. Yeah, yep.
Pulling it up right now.
Greg and Sergeant Pepper, if you see questions throughout the interview that interest you, feel free to address them as you see them. That's just a good way to get information out there. So, Sergeant Pepper, you want to start things off?
Yeah. Let me pull up my notes here really quick. First of all, I want to say, what's up, Greg?
What's up, man? How's it going? Yeah.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah.
So I don't want to sit there and just jump into the company and the l.e.ds. I wanted to just ask you, how'd you get started in growing this wonderful plant and in the knowledge that you've gained? Like, what got you started with all this?
For sure. Yeah. So I actually was lucky enough to turn 40 last weekend. So put my first seed in the ground when I was 18 years old. So that's 22 years now I've been doing this. Most of my background's in soil ecology. I worked for the Colorado State University doing soil ecology research all over the globe on climate change, soil food webs, all that kind of stuff. And that provided me the time to grow outdoor in Colorado, which I did for years and years. Then, when the funding dried up for climate change and education, as we all know it has, I kind of transferred back over to my passion, which is cannabis, and got back into the industry doing integrated pest management with my background in soil ecology. And I knew all the bugs inside and out. So I came in with a lot of organic methods of pest management and that kind of stuff. And just moved forward and started seeing this reduction of l.e.ds and how the first round, as we all know, didn't work all that well on l.e.ds, but the power savings were there. The climate benefits are there. It's an amazing industry, and I think anything we can do to bring it forward and next steps on how to make this sustainable industry was kind of where I was shooting. So moved up to Oregon, put a couple of large facilities together up there, ground up situation. Ended up putting l.e.ds in a couple of facilities, seeing what they could do. And the grind got to me after a while. So I was ready to kind of come down here to the desert and sit back and relax a little bit, see what Arizona had to offer, and started up with Science as their direction of cultivation, sciences, and all that kind of fun stuff. So got into doing a lot of research with them on what we could do with spectrums, what the next steps are going to be as far as controlling your crop with lighting. And yeah, it's been about a year now I've been working with them. It's been a great experience.
Right on, man. That's what's up. So you're the perfect resource to ask for if I have a bug problem. Right when I heard you say that, I was like, good to know.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
But
what's up.
it's either bug problems or lights in my DM on the IG for sure. So always feel free to reach out on either one.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. That's what's up, man. Because like I'll tell you, to me, like my biggest goal is to eventually one day to to do what I love fully as my job. Right now, I have a full time job and I do this, but the fact that that is your job, that's what's up, man.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's
extremely
what,
lucky. Yeah, yeah. You know, it took moving to Oregon and taking those $12 an hour scrub table jobs for a little while. You know, it took, but that's start from the ground up, basics. Put in the irrigation lines. Learning. From bottom up. So it was really good coming from an outdoor organic to an indoor grow, lighting, salt kind of situation. Definitely thought I knew a lot about growing the plants until I got involved in commercial level salt growing, and it definitely changes the game, and you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. So it really knocked me back on my boots, and it was good. It was good. Took the $50 an hour job and just pounded out. Got where I am now. So real happy about it.
right on, man. That's what's up. So I see a tent right behind you, and I gotta ask. I know before the interview you told me you had two kales, but what do you got inside that thing?
Yeah, nothing right now. Normally it's my veg tent, but like I said, I'm in between runs because I'm kind of on vacation. But yeah, a couple of kales in there. It's gonna be my mom and clone tent, and then I got my alpha in the other room. So yeah, I'm hoping to just have this running. I'm gonna start working a couple of lines. Moving down from Oregon, I definitely lost all my genetics. I'm kind of starting over. So start with some Lit Farms gear here next run, doing their white linen, and then I'm gonna do some stuff from Dark Horse Genetics out of Colorado. I have their whole Infinity Gauntlet line, so I'm going to try to find some goodies out of that. That's the next plan. So hopefully September that'll be up and raging again.
That's what's up, man. I look forward to your drops on IG. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to doing it, and like I'm moving away from doing the soil runs back to cocoa and salt, so I should be able to push them around a little more. And a lot of the testing I've been doing with the cryptochrome and phytochrome transitions with the alpha all on soil, so that I didn't have that secondary input to be concerned with. But now it's time to play and really see what we can make these things do.
Right. That's that. I feel you on that. As you know, I've only had my cushions now for a couple months, and I think I was telling you before previously in the interview. For me, the reason I asked you what was back there and I wanted you to talk about the kale is because that was like my little gateway to your company was the kale. Because to be honest with you, it's the most cost effective light you guys sell, and when I tried it out and I saw how much happier my plants were versus the T5 or even the 315 CMH I was running, I was like, yo, what else do these lights do? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, the kale's an amazing light. I always tell everybody if they want to get involved with us, that's a great place to jump in. Everybody's really happy with the veg growth on the kale, and I actually just ran a flower run with it. Was really impressed with what it did with flower. And now I'm going to toy around with this next run. It doesn't have a ton of reds in it, but I'm going to try filter a little warmer. There's some research going on right now up in Canada that's looking at having a little more red light in your mom room to do a little better down the road for more mature clones. So better rooting right off the bat because you got your hormones where you want them. So I'm going to do a little bit of red testing in my mom tent because I've been doing, like I said, for a long time. So same as you, CMH, T5s, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to try something a little less blue, see what we can do with it.
Right on. I just want looking
That's
over
actually
my
the
notes
first I've heard of the use of red to bring out hormones in veg for cloning purposes.
Yeah, it's actually 2 papers just came out in Canada in the past like 3-4 months. It's fairly new research, and it's very counterintuitive to what we've all known for all these years. Is no, you need that blue, you need that you need that T5, you need that CMH, and with all these new lights coming on, that besides ours that can tune spectrum a little more, and you're just starting to get a little more red floating around in veg rooms now, and people are starting to see the ability for them to be a little more mature when they clone. So the only way to find out is to test it yourself, but peer-reviewed research is coming in, so pretty excited to see that.
Yeah, it is always nice when you get to read some data.
I've always noticed a little bit stronger stem structure too with the reds and veg.
Yeah, yeah, all around. I mean, there's something to be said for, having more spectrums in there. I think, sometimes we get stuck in our ways as we do. If it works, it works, and we keep pushing forward with it. But to see that come through with the reds, and I know a lot of the growers that grow with cushes and veg and stuff, and they just have more reds in their mixes, and they've seen similar things. So it's really interesting. So we're hoping to get some good data out there for you guys on that.
When Sergeant Pepper came on, he was running the Raging Kale there, and I was very impressed at that point with what he was doing at that point with the light, and uh, I was intrigued at that point. So when he actually just got a hold of the Raging Cushes and started running them things, it opened my eyes. I was paying attention for sure. I mean, this has been a good run, definitely a great run,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, for sure. Everything I've seen on IG, Sergeant, looks amazing. I'm glad you're having a good go with it. I know it's your first run with the LEDs for the most part, which is when I normally have to counsel a lot of growers on changing their nutrient regimes and their humidity and temps, but you got it dialed in right away. So real impressive, and kudos to you for sure.
Thanks. I was very fortunate to have a lot of friends that already run LEDs, and they gave me a couple pointers here and there. I did adjust a couple things, but I will say I felt it was a little bit more fair to get the data this run than it was previous runs, because before it was a mixed spectrum. And I will say I'm pretty happy with the results of this run. I haven't harvested yet, but I'm about 6 days away from it, and so far I'm pretty pleased.
Yeah, yeah, and then like we talked, and you may be spinning them next round. Are you going to turn them, or are you going to leave them like they are?
No,
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow that map that you showed me, because honestly, like you already know the calibrations of that light. I'm gonna follow. You haven't steered me wrong so far. I'll just say that.
That's
Right?
good to hear. Yeah.
Yeah, you haven't steered me wrong so far. So I'm gonna change everything over. And by the way, just to let chat and everybody know what we're referring to is, I actually reached out to Greg, and that's how we kind of started chatting here and there. And I said, hey, is there any way you can help me out? This is the size room that I have. These are my height. This is the width and whatnot. And he actually mapped everything out on the best, most efficient way to run those lights, because I had them set up a certain way. But something inside of me said, you know what? I better just ask. And he didn't fail me. He said, hey man, this is what I would do. It looks great with what you're doing, but this is like the pro tip right here. And he said it in a very nice way. And I just said, you know what? I'm gonna go with it. But even though I'm not running the pro tip, I'm excited to see what happens with the pro tip.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, pro tip, it's not going to nudge you much. You're going to get a little bit of better PPFD with the cross beaming out the lenses, but besides that, I mean, you're already laid out real nice with that.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, no, so far the thing that's also most impressive with, at least for me, for the Raging Kush, is usually, like, this is just me being an old school HPS grower. A lot of times my nugs in the middle to like the 3x3 side of my 4x4s are pretty big, and they're pretty massive. And then the ones when you go out to the outer edges, they're still good size, because I'm stacking lights. So there is a lot of PPFD rolling through the room, a lot of par. But I don't know, like with these lights, I noticed that it doesn't matter if it's in the middle or if it's on the side, you're still gonna have equally sized nugs. You might have one that's a little chunkier than the other, but the uniformity is there. I'm just curious, how do you guys get that PPFD like so balanced and even across the board? Because I see a lot of other lights, and I'm not gonna bash on anybody, so I'm not gonna throw any names, but they'll have this wonderful PPFD like just spiking right down the middle, and then you'll hit up about 3 feet, and then it starts to drift off, and it'll go to like 300 or even 150 PPFD. And I don't know, I really like having 800 plus all around.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Well, the story of our ability to do that actually starts with Rigid, which is a truck line, like an off-roading truck line. I don't know if you guys are ever familiar with those. They're big light bars that come on off-roading trucks. And that's actually our parent company, is Rigid. And they designed those lights to throw those lights way out in the desert, so you can see way down in front of you, make sure you're not going to hit anything when you're driving 60, 70 miles an hour. We adopted that technology into the lenses on our lights. which the cushions have a 120-degree lens on them. So what that does is it brings in a cross beaming. So one bar throws light this way, one bar throws lights that way. And when you get in the middle there, that's when you get a higher PPFD level. Now it's still going to be nice and spread out, especially with a light like the Cush, where you have a 3-bar unit. Our other units like the Dragon SL, the Dragon Alpha, and the Kale to a point are meant to be running an array, so you get that cross beaming, so it makes it even more even on the canopy cross there. But yeah, you actually get more PPFD on an angle with our lights than you do straight down, and that's by design, because if you looked at the LED market when we were getting started with stuff, everything was that spotlight effect. Everything was straight down. I mean, I dealt with it personally with a lot of LEDs in commercial grows. You'd get that nice burn pattern in the middle, and then everything would look great on the outside of it. So the ability, especially with the Cush, getting slammed right down next to the crop, because those beams cross at about 9 inches, 10 inches underneath that light. So you're getting the maximum amount of that light right over that. So we're really concentrated on no light loss out to the aisles where you don't need it. Really keep it right over the canopy. Now, when you go over the Dragon Alpha, the high, if you look at the stats on that, the high hang height on that light is because the lens we use on that light is a 70-degree lens, but it's linear. So it throws 70 degrees one way and 120 the other. So we're working even more on keeping that right down over your crop, but nice, wide, and even. So if you look at the throw of our lights, instead of the standard immersion, like the little backwing effect that you see on most lights, it's a rounder, cleaner kind of shape to it. So that's the technology there. And, that helps too with all the waterproofing and everything to have the lenses on. Because, I don't know if everybody out here has seen the videos of us throwing our lights in swimming pools, but you can't do that. We are totally waterproof. So the lenses help with that too. Coming from the IPM side, I've thrown everything I can at these lights. We've chlorine gassed them. We've hit them with regalia, painted it on, left it in the Arizona sun, and everything wipes off. Lights are good as new. So those lenses not only make that nice coverage, but they make those lights just beefy.
The bar style lights also are nice. I'm sure it helps somewhat to spread that light out as well, but they're also great for heat and airflow as well. Is that something you guys wanted to incorporate in with the light to be able to drop her down close and be as cool as possible?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, I mean, and then you get that, you also get the advantage, with our app, you can dim the intensity as you want it. So these little tents like this, I don't even run any kind of I have fans that move air around inside, but I don't dump air in and out, Our lights will get to around 100 degrees, 105 degrees. The Cushes, when you run about 100% intensity, if they're big lights, they get a little hotter. But yeah, and we're working even better on the heat sinks, getting that heat dissipation down. Our Dragon models, our bar lights that are single bars, they have fans, which and I've been that way as a commercial grower over the years. The fan could be another fail point, but what I like about what we do is we make sure we put the top of the line fans in. They're waterproof as well, so and they're part of our warranty. So those fans actually work great because they actually turn your air up through the light, so you get a circling like this just with the light. So that helps with a lot of heat control too.
I've also found that with your guys' style lights there, like you said, running at 100 degrees on a scrog there allows you, even in a tent, most of them are 80 inches, and so that leaves you plenty of room to get a good sized fan or a decent small fan going above the light and just blowing that air straight out the tent. So there's not even
for sure.
need for
Yeah,
any
and
kind
I
of
think
cooling.
the Kush was definitely designed with rack growers in mind. So a lot of them run the fan just right over the top of their lights. So you're just getting that dispersion down there. So it works great for a 4x4 area for a home grower, but it was designed for a pallet rack grower or a pip rack grower out in a commercial setting. So they're designed for that. They work really well. The heat sinks, the way that the channeling works, just really makes that airflow work really well.
So now I can hear you. Sorry, I was having technical difficulties. I asked you the question and it just went like radio silent.
Oh, well, it was this knowledge you'll never get back. Now it's gone forever.
No, the beauty of Eagle is you'll repost it. Oh, it's so funny. Here, let me
So
look
what
through
was
my
your
notes here
question there,
for the
Sergeant
next
Pepper?
question.
Since we lost you.
No, he went over it, I'm sure. It was I asked him, I said, I said, what was the beauty behind the Kush of how it has such an even PPFD?
Right. Yeah, we chatted
Oh,
up
he
about
did
the
go over it.
lenses, the 120
Yeah,
lenses, and how that
yeah.
works. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
The
covered it.
120 optics.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
I knew it was the 120 optics. I just wanted everybody to hear about it more than
Well,
anything
yeah, they
because
got a good dose.
that's
You're
what
the only
really
one.
that's the beauty of that light. I was just impressed because the thing is, the main reason I asked that question is there's a lot of LED fixtures out there, and no disrespect to anybody, that either have like either quantum boards or they'll have bars, and that's great. But I was like, how does this one 3-bar unit achieve that? And then I started doing research and finding out. So that's why I wanted everybody else to see it, because it's kind of a unique light. If you look at even just the optics and then also the way it's designed. And well, I'll ask you this: how's it designed? What thought was thought behind it as far as like for airflow and whatnot?
Yeah, yeah. So I know you were lagging. We covered it a little bit, but yeah, no. So the cushions, they were designed for pallet racks, stacked rack growers. So they were designed to have that airflow moving right over the top. Where you have the Dragon SLs, the Alphas have the fans in the unit, so those are made to be high hung. So you get that transpiration pull up and around the room like that. I have some guys out in Nevada that are running giant rooms with Dragon SLs, and you walk in and they don't have a lot of other fans going on, and you can feel the air moving with just 200 SLs in a room. So the fans really bring a lot to the game on cooling. We've had questions over the years about doing, water cooled systems, things like that. But we're pretty happy with the technology that we have right now. We're really hoping to push that forward. The app technology, the spectrum tuning technology. There's some other great companies out there that are doing water cooled LEDs, and they definitely are pushing that down the line.
Sure,
So
for sure. I think that would
I
shine more than
can't help
anything
but
is the
wonder.
spectrum tuning. Sorry,
Sorry,
Eagle, go on ahead.
Sergeant
I'm sorry.
Pepper.
No, you please, Eagle. You going
I
ahead.
can't help but wonder. I can't help but wonder that since LEDs aren't really we've been battling heat as growers forever with these big old lights, and they got worse with the double-ended lights. Our battle with heat. So it kind of, I giggle a little bit when I hear you mention, you're a little bit of battle with heat, because these things, lights like this, I don't consider that to be a battle. I mean, as we both all know, the plants are happier in a warmer environment under LEDs. So the question I have is, is your quest at this point to keep the light cool? Is it more for longevity of the diodes itself, or is it for us to keep our
Yeah,
room
well, so yeah, all that comes
cool?
into play for sure. Yeah, and like to your point, I run into that with growers a lot that have been growing with double endeds, and they pick up one of our lights, and the first question I get is, I have to start adding heat to my tent? And often, some people, guys, in the winter, I got to run out and buy a heater for the tent. You got to get those temps up around 80 degrees. So to a point, sometimes that could be a bit problematic. But when you're looking at this as a production level light, which obviously is what we hope to be doing. I mean, we love with the home growers, and we love doing what we do, but the production grow is kind of where we're working for the future of these lights. And for when you stack a lot of these in the room, you still get some heat issues, and to get them as close as you want with these, it's not so much the heat, it's just the amount of photons that these LEDs can actually pound the plants with. You get actual phototoxicity. You get it doesn't look like burn. It just gets yellow on the leaves. It's a different look than if you were to burn a plant where you get the bleaching of the bud, all the stuff that we're used to seeing. It's a different look, and you still get damage from it. So the heat dispersion is still really important with these lights, just because it's so much more concentrated.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. When I first started running the Kush, I should have had this on my HPSs anyways, but I used to run them a little higher. And the thing that I really liked about the Scynce lights is you can drop them real low, and you can't do with an HPS. So if ceiling heights or restrictions are an issue for you, this is a wonderful light.
Yep. Yeah,
But
exactly.
it did have a bit
Yeah.
of heat. It did have a little bit of heat, but I will say I threw in a 6-inch inline fan just to blow right over the canopy, and was gone.
Yeah, for sure. And that's normally what the fix is, just that little bit of air movement over the top. And yeah, I mean, they can still get warm, certainly, and at the end of the day, the heat you're losing, kind of translates to the efficiency of the lights, So, I mean, the more of that energy we can keep as light energy and not be losing his heat, this is better for everybody. So yeah, so there's always a quest to run a little more efficient. Keep your diodes, to your point, Eagle, a little longer by running the light overall cooler. It helps with power sources, warranties, the whole nine. So it's definitely part of the game.
And you guys, I forgot. You guys, what's your warranty with you guys' lights?
You broke up a little bit there, man.
I said, so what's the warranty again? I forgot.
It's 5 year. Yeah, 5 year warranty, total replacement on anything that we would cover.
5 years.
I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, 5 years. So I mean, there's unforeseen things that'll happen. If somebody gets in the light and tinkers with it or whatever, then that's void. But for the most part, any regular things are covered. It's one thing that I really love about Scynce is, I've worked with like I said, again, a lot of other LED companies, and in our company's the one that's like, if you have an issue, you reach out, you're going to get a response. We have Scynce supports. So if there's any light issues, you reach immediately out to Scynce support, and they're going to start, if we need a replacement, we will. Normally it's a firmware update or something along those lines. We're lucky every time a new app comes out, we can update all of the software and everything in the lights. Obviously we can't, like the hardware is going to be the same, but we can keep these lights as up to date as we need to with the new software pushes. And that really makes a lot of this troubleshooting really easy for us. So yeah, 5 year warranty on everything.
Yeah, I just like to point
out.
Sorry,
Sergeant Pepper.
No.
We need.
No, it's okay. You're going ahead.
I like the
lag.
I like the fact that you mentioned the fact that you want to be more on the big scale side of things, and you guys are already leading the way in the bigger grows, getting your foot in there with a lot of the larger grows. And for me, that says something. You know what I mean? I like to think that, and I don't mind being a guinea pig. You know what I mean? To be that first stage, because you like to see, as a light owner, I want to know that my light's in a big grow. You know what I mean? I want to know that's what the big boys are using. And even, if I'm shopping for a light, there's so many little companies. Well, there's a lot of LED companies out there, but there are not a lot of them out there actually in grows right now. And pushing a science, if you will. And you guys are true to that word. I mean, I want to be able to buy or have access to the company that the big guys are running. Something that's in a larger agricultural setup. And you don't see that with a lot of these, companies that are being pushed towards us smaller growers. They're just aiming for us. I want to see what the big guys are running. I want to be able to have the opportunity to at home, at least not on scale. You know what I mean? I obviously can't run that stuff on scale, but I want to be able to have a light to be able to know that I can kick as much ass as the commercial guys are doing. And that's awesome that you're on both sides. You're experimenting, working with us littler guys to help tweak the lights, and the big guys to help it, figure things out on theirs. And another thing I appreciate about your guys' lights is the way they work together, that you can dial them in and sync everything at once, both spectrum and the way you want it set up. I mean, to my knowledge, there's no other company on the market right now leading that edge either. So, well, my hat's off to you. Sorry, Sergeant Pepper, you didn't mean to jump in there.
Well, yeah, no, we appreciate that, and yeah, 100%. We definitely, Scynce family is definitely part of our ethos. Like our home growers are amazing. I am lucky enough to work with our research squad and talk to the home growers and see what they're seeing, and then I'll take that to the I mean, a lot of the times nowadays you're seeing guys that used to be home growers are taking over these larger grows. I mean, they're the guys that have had the practice, and so being able to talk to both sides of that aisle is amazing. And the guys that are running 200 lights in a room, their issues aren't that far off from the guys that are doing it at home. They're seeing some different things. They have a little more plants to worry about, and they have a staff. But besides that, I mean, similar issues, CalMag uptake, room control, all that kind of stuff. So it's fun working with both sides. And I think we love, and we've been in discussion of making some smaller. We used to make some smaller lights, some 3-foot lights, 2-foot lights for home growers. And so hopefully we can get back around to making those, because I love seeing home growers just crush with those. But yeah, definitely. I mean, with the ability these lights to take a licking like they can, being waterproof and everything else. I mean, if I don't have a grower standing 50 foot over a crop every day, you're talking OSHA concerns, everything else, trying to replace bulbs. It just makes everything in production so much easier.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. That's for sure. I don't miss changing bulbs. I don't, like I'm not bashing on HPS guys. I literally just graduated to l.e.d, so I'm not bashing on anybody. But when you make the switch, you might go through some struggles. I was fortunate enough that I have a couple friends that already run l.e.d, and they said, hey, before you do that, let me just tell you something. And they threw me a couple of pointers, and I'd like to think that I'm doing okay. But there's really, like, you tweak a couple of things, and like the benefits are just outstanding from what I can see so far. But there's a couple of questions I want to touch on that more than anything that has blown me away, because I guess being an old school HPS grower that I really like about your recipes. I've noticed how the wattage changes, and as the way I was always taught was you would never run your thally your first week on a thally. Now everybody does it differently, but this is why it kind of made sense to me on the way you guys do it. But I want to hear your explanation on it. I was always taught when you're running on 1,000 watt, your first 10 to 14 days you want to run 750 watts, because that plant is already going to stretch no matter what. So if you already build up your flower sites, all those flower sites are going to stretch as well. Perfect. And you hit already like day 18 to 21, hit it. That's what I was taught. Now I noticed with your recipes, you guys kind of do that, but even in different periods, even on the very last period when you're ripening, and I'm actually like at stage 4 right now. So I lowered my reds, and then I left the blues and the warm whites up still, and then the intensity's been dropped to 75%. Now I've never usually just ran out. I just ran away. The last week I might drop it down to 750, but that was it. These lights, I'm doing that at week 7, and I don't feel I missed out on any weight.
Yeah. So the idea behind that, and that set of recipes that you're talking about there, is a seasonal set of recipes meant to mimic spring through fall, kind of that natural cycle. And I'm actually working on this week, so hopefully the next couple of weeks I'm out for you guys. Is the next set of recipes that are going to be for crop steering. So instead of mimicking that natural environment, do you want more stretch? Do you want less stretch? Do you want faster ripening time? That kind of stuff. So that's the next wave of recipes that's going to be coming out to you guys. But the seasonal ones that you're playing with there, the idea is yeah, 100%. Like, when, especially when you're coming out from a CMH or a T5 into flower, you don't want to be swinging a thally at it just right off the bat. You want to break it in a little bit. So a similar idea. I mean, the recipes that are on our website right now are set up for guys that are in cocoa, rock wool, hydroponic kind of setup. A lot of people, that's what they run. By soil growers, when I talk to my organic soil growers, that first round of recipes, they like to tilt that a little warmer because they want their bud sites to come on a little heavier. So that first round is tilted cool, not only to break the plants in, but you're encouraging root to shoot ratio. So if you're in cocoa, you're in rock wool, you're pushing those roots. You're trying to establish a real nice root system. Then you're going to bring that back up warmer, which is going to kick them into bud sites and everything like that. So you're really giving that plant time to settle in with those recipes. So the soil growers not need to stack quite as much fruit. They want to see that bud site on a little earlier because their run's going to take a little bit longer, So there's ways you can play these recipes. And then towards the end, when we're tuning out some of those reds and things, I mean, at that point, your far reds and your reds, you're pushing photosynthesis really hard. You're simulating shade. So, by fall, normally you're not getting a lot of shade on your plants. They don't need as much photosynthesis. You're just kind of letting the buds kind of set up, encouraging what I always like to call that noble rot at the end. You want them to just start like fade. They don't need to push photosynthesis that hard. So break some of those reds out. You're not worried about stretch anymore. And the hydrocarbons, which is what terpenes are, tend to volatilize off at those wavelengths. So as you're developing those real nice terps at the end, those nice round heads, if you're a hash maker, that's the time to back off on the reds and really let those nugs kind of set up.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. That's for sure. Because this round, I've been running especially one in particular. Eagle knows which one I'm going to be talking about. It's this genetic called Caesar, and it's from Exotic Genetics, and it's a cross of Gorilla Glue #4 with triple OG. And I've always used Hortilux bulbs in my HPSs and had really good success with them. And this run, they've never been this big and they've never been this frosty. And usually it's my one, like, when you're like one nug you want to show off, you're like, let me show you my Caesar. And this round, it's been a lot better. And I definitely can see the science behind it. No, like corny, or I know it's kind of coincidence, but I could see why you guys went with that name. Because there's a lot of thought put into not just the light, but I guess the recipe and the way you guys are putting everything together. It makes it really easy for an HPS grower to transition with some guidelines like myself, because I didn't feel intimidated by it, because I noticed when you guys put on the recipe, you put also a recommendation of what temperature you should be running the room, what humidity, what stage cycle. So it's pretty user friendly of like, plug and play. The only thing you really have to adjust is if you want to do like a sunrise, sunset, and then the most important part, what time you want it on and off. And I actually liked that you guys went with military time. This way it's very black or white. There is no like, oh, I thought it was AM. Oh, I thought it was PM. It's like, no, dude, it said 2000 hours. That's 8 o'clock, bro.
Yeah. Well,
right?
not everybody knows it's 8 o'clock, but they're learning. They're getting up on temperature.
Well, yeah, you know what I mean. I guess it's just less room for error.
No, yeah, 100%.
Because sometimes, you could be tired.
Yeah, and it makes it easier for the engineers on the data programming too. If you're trying to put in AM, PM, that messes up a whole nother level when you're trying to talk to these lights on, via Bluetooth fashion, this, that, and the other. Military time simplifies everything for us, for sure. Yeah, some people do hate it. I get complaints at least once or twice a week, but it's a necessary evil to them, and it's good to the rest of us, so it's okay.
I'm not gonna lie. This is all I do, is, to be honest with you, whatever I want, just throw a 12 on it, man, and then you got your answer, right? Just subtract 12. A little simple math. I know it could be a little tedious, but if you look at it from this perspective, this is the way I look at it. Because at first, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was annoyed the very first 30 seconds, and then I was like, well, you know what? Take a step back. How many times have you been in your room where your eyes are, you're tired, and you're setting something up new, and you're like, all right, it's boom, and then you're like, oh shit, I set that wrong. This takes that option out of the equation, where you're like, without a shadow of doubt, wait, I had to think about it. So that means you put a little bit more thought into it, and it takes less error, in my opinion. So I guess, right. I don't know if I'm being optimistic or just, I like how clean it's like, no, this is the answer. So
yeah,
just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a great feature. And
I'm
yeah,
sure not everybody feels like I do.
I don't know how many timers I've just not flipped, or it's been off on the time, or it's happened to me so many times. So yeah, as much as all of us that have been growing a while have all had our trials and tribulations with the timer, cheaper, expensive, but yeah, I think it's a good method. It keeps it pretty clean, and when you're setting up multiple recipes, you can have an unlimited amount of recipes on the app now. That was with our last update, so I think I have 50 some recipes on my phone at this point, because I'm designing them for everybody else, and for myself, and for demos for the fields, and it's really nice to pop on. The times are really laid out, really clean. You don't even have to worry about it. So it's definitely, I enjoy the military time as well.
Is that information backed up both on the phone and on the light? Just out of curiosity.
So it's not. So
if you're not.
Yeah. So the light can hold one recipe at a time. Yeah. So the light holds one recipe at a time. It doesn't have an onboard clock. So your phone is the clock. So if you have a power outage, you could have issues with your times resetting. So what we encourage people to do if they're, in an area where they have a lot of power outages, we have two different things. We have an Echo, which will hook up to a Trollmaster, which looks pretty familiar in Sergeant's picture there, and a Tempo, which is a small thumb drive unit that basically acts as a back clock for all the lights. It's like a thumb drive side of things. But no, your phone actually saves all the recipes for you. In order to sign into our app, you have to have a Google account. The reason we use Google is because the security on their email is the best in business. So Google basically saves all of your recipes and everything through that account. It's all saved in your cloud. So if you pull up your account on your buddy's phone, all your recipes will be there. So it moves around with you. So it makes it pretty user friendly. And then I was privy to get to see some really cool stuff down the road where we may be getting some actual laptop interfaces with some of these big grows where you're running 1,000 lights at a time, and instead of having to use your phone app, we may be seeing some developments and use, your desktop have like official units running all your lights. So I'm excited to see that. The engineers are always working.
Yeah.
Is it such a thing too where I understand, I appreciate the stick and everything, but I'm kind of, as I'm sitting here listening to you, couldn't there be such a thing as when the light came back on and made its network connection that it kind of pinged your phone and reset it from your app? You know what I mean? Both the light schedule and time everything from what's going on your app in the phone.
Yeah, for sure. And that's just the way that the light to the Bluetooth connectivity, and your phone actually has to get turned on. They can't talk out. They can only, you can only receive, not send. But that's we're working on all of that down the road right now. I mean, we love to see onboard chips and all that kind of stuff, and it's coming. What we're doing right now, the big push on the tech front right now that we've been working on is coming out with the Dragon Alpha, where you can actually tune that light anywhere with that power source and you don't lose any wattage. So we've been really pushing that forward. It's all about getting that new driver put together. So now that we've got that technology figured out where you can slide that 600 watts anywhere in the light, you lose no power at all, no matter where you tune. The next thing is starting to work on these little minor tweaks and stuff and get these things really, really dialed in. But it was really a push. We had every engineer in the building working on getting that power source figured out so that you're not losing wattage with your tune.
Is there a difference in spectrum? Say like say you and your light's a whole different beast from everything else on the market there. So I guess this question relates to your light and whatever, whatever here, you know what I mean? See, on these behind me, I'm curious to know, and I'm wondering, your light, how it compares, I guess. Say, if I take these drivers and spin it down, does that change the preset spectrum at all? I mean, as it dims, does it weird out the spectrum, or does it stay the same and use less power?
The spectrum's going to stay the same. The photons are still excited at the same rate. So the actual wavelength of the photon is going to remain constant. There's just going to be less energy hitting the plants. So there'll be less of that spectrum, but the spectrum will remain the same. On our lights, you can actually shift the spectrum around. So like we were talking about earlier when he was talking about his recipes, if you want to run earlier in veg, like that's why I was talking about crop steering. What I really like to do with these lights is like, I'm in these little tents. If I'm starting to get too much stretch, I just pull my reds out, hit them with blue for 3 or 4 days, shut that stretch down, and bring my reds right back in. That actually adjusts the spectrum along with the intensity of the light. Currently, the alpha, you don't lose any intensity either. You literally just remove those wavelengths from the spectrum.
That's one of the things I've always loved about your light. When I've met Sgt. Pepper and I seen his light there, that was one of the things instantly I was in love with about the fixture, is that you could have so much control over the fixture itself. But I'm curious to know, you touched a little bit about light intensity and the deficiencies that it can cause. With that being said, do you suggest running your light at maybe a full power up higher, or do you suggest dialing it down and putting it right on top of the canopy as close as you can get it?
Yeah, so I mean that's a question I get a lot, and so basically, with the question that I always ask when I'm starting to talk down this road with growers is, how do you grow? If you're a salt grower and you're pumping EC into these plants every day, and you're feeding them twice times a day, I say hit them with high PPFD, hit them with high CO2, rip and rock, and let's get these runs going. I mean, we can shave times off, we can do whatever we want. If you're an organic grower that's going to take their time, and you're not worried about finishing, in 55 days, 60 days, then maybe we can tune your light back a little bit, drop your PPFD down a little bit, let the gals kind of set up, build more bud sites, get more branching. So it's really dependent on the grower that I'm talking to. You will get soil growers or guys, you get a lot of the greenies will come out and they got their Fox Farm, which is always great for everybody to start with Fox Farm. Fox Farm's a great company. But, and then they'll hit them with, 1200 PPFD, no CO2, and they'll torch stuff just because there's not enough nutrients there. So it's just really important to find that balance, just like in everything else that we do, between your style as a grower and how much light you actually need to throw on your canopy.
You bring up one fact that, one point that I've never, ever heard a light company address is the medium that you're using and how light recipes can relate to what you're using and what you're running. That's a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. And then, genetics on top of that, if somebody comes to me, cookies notoriously is not a really highlight strain. I'll normally have them back off a little bit on their PPFD. If you're running a, Blue Dream, crank that thing up, let it go. It's all about media genetics on how to really get these. I mean, at the end of the day, a grower is going to have success with a good l.e.d. no matter what l.e.d. it is. I mean, you can have success with it, but where are you tweaking out that extra 15%, 20% of, what you want as a grower? I mean, if a hash maker comes to me, I might have them dial their lights differently than somebody that's looking for a good organic run, and so everybody, that's the great thing about our lights, is everybody can figure out where they need to land with their cultivar, with their processing. And that's what I love about Scynce the most, is you can customize what you're doing 100%.
Yeah, I really like that Eagle brought that up, though, about the different medias, because to be really honest with you, I didn't even think about that part. So you brought it up with the soil, and it makes sense when you started pointing out the reason why with the branching. When you're running salts, things are gonna be a little bit more fast fed and whatnot. So that does make sense. I just never thought about it that way, because, well, I'll be honest with you, I only grew in soil my very first run ever when I first started growing, and then I saw cocoa and never looked back. That's what happened. I had a buddy who grew in cocoa, and he showed me how to grow a little bit and showed me a couple basics, and I was working for him, so I pretty much tried to mimic whatever he did, because he was like, hey, this is the way I run the way I run, and you'll see how it works for you. And I said, okay. And so everything he pointed at me in cocoa worked well for me. But then I eventually got curious and felt a little bit more confident, so I switched to Rockwool. And I remember he was like, what are you doing? And I said, I'm going to Rockwool. And he goes, that's where the big boys play, right? And I said, I don't know about that. And he was like, what do you mean? I was like, it sounds like you could do whatever you want with it. You could flush it, hit it hard, like the sky's the limit. And then I played with Rockwool for like 2 years, and then I went back to cocoa. And the only reason I went back was I genuinely feel the terpenes are better with cocoa.
Yeah. I mean, I think you and I back and forth on a DM a little bit ago. I've always said about cocoa is, if you run it like soil, you can get soil results. If you run it like hydro, you get hydro results. That's the great thing. It's a real easy medium to kind of push whichever direction you went. I mean, my first production grow was all Rockwool. Again, with me, if you're talking to me, I always look at the environmental impacts of what we're doing, and Rockwool is not environmentally friendly at all. We're already dumping a bunch of salts into the system, and then there's no real way to get rid of that, where cocoa is easily recycled, comes from natural resources. So there's a lot of good things about cocoa besides what it is as a growing medium. But yeah, no, I think cocoa, for most guys that I talk to, most cultivators out there, most of them are running cocoa. So we normally assume that's kind of what a lot of the home growers are going. Now we've had a couple of big facilities in Michigan and a couple other places come online that are going all living soil beds. That seems to be a new push in production, which I'm amazed with. We got one of the 4 grows that is legal in Utah is going all organic. Amazing group of guys out there, Zion Cultivars, doing great work with their selection of product out there. And Yeah, seeing more of the living soil coming back into the game as a soil ecologist is really exciting for me. I also, as an IPM guy, know I have a job cut out for me the more these soil growers.
Boy, I know
For sure,
that
for sure.
a lot of the salt guys are going to be mad at me because I'm a salt guy myself. I'm a salt guy, cocoa, but I've grown in a little bit in dirt, and I'm kind of trying to dip my feet back in there a little bit. But I know a good thing when I see it. I've run l.e.ds for a while, and I've noticed that the profile and trichrome production is where it's at under the l.e.d. The only way I could actually see the recipe getting any better is the flavor from the organics. You know, you sync them two up together, and you're talking some dank ass flour right there. You know, I
Yeah.
hate to admit it, but that's where it's going to be sooner or later. That's where the quality of the craft cannabis is going to be right there.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more craft people coming online, and you got states like California. I mean, Massachusetts already like that, but I mean, basically, you have to grow under l.e.ds. So as they're forcing your hand to go to l.e.d for energy savings, these guys are going to start stepping up with these living soil grows, and I'm really seeing some amazing stuff out there. A lot of good stuff going on in production grows right now with living soil. I think we're going to be really impressed with, instead of just cranking out as much product as you can, to actually get some quality soil grown stuff. I think I'm excited to see what the future brings for us.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what it'll do too, because I got this buddy of mine. He's a panelist on the show. His name is Smiley's Gardens, and he's an organic grower, and he's definitely like just kept whispering in my ear like, "Come on, Sarge, just try it." And I'm like, "All right, all right, all right." The way I've seen him do his grow, I was like, I got to give it a shot. And the one thing I can't deny are the terpenes everybody's saying. I just really want to throw my spin on it, the way that I can dial things in and the way I set things up. But try it on an organic level, something different. I feel like if you're not learning, you're doing something wrong, because you should be learning something new every day, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
Definitely make you a better grower.
Yeah, I mean, the more you play, the more you learn, for sure. And you might not always like the results. And that's the thing about my organic guys, is you got to be okay with plants that aren't 100% all right. I think we're one of the few groups of growers on the planet that all of our plants have to look perfect for our final product to be sellable. I mean, you go to apple orchards and stuff. Not every apple tree looks amazing. But as cannabis growers, we all think everything, oh God, there's one little tip burn, we can't throw it in the trash. It's terrible now. So the organic guys, are coming down that path where they're not going to be able to get everything completely dialed every time. But the end product is still amazing. So I mean, there's something that the Instagram worthy plants aren't always where that final product is. But healthy plants are healthy plants. At the end of the day, we all got to keep everything as healthy.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. For sure. There was something I wanted to touch on. Sorry, because I have little notes here that I don't want to forget to ask you questions. Something that I don't know if we didn't really go through all the way, but I wanted the chat to understand, like, what I thought was really impressive about the new Alpha, and I'm excited when you guys add this technology over to the Kush, is the consistency and power. Because I will notice, running with the different spectrums, it appears like there's different drivers for each channel inside the main part of the Kush. And with the Alpha, it feels like, well, that's something special that you guys have. That's like patent circuitry or whatever and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
At least that's, I believe I heard Steve saying something like that.
Yeah, so the SL and the Dragon SL and the Kush have 3 drivers in them. So they're not, every channel is not separate. The whites and the blues kind of work together on one of the drivers. But no, everything, the Kale is already like this, and the Alpha is like this. But one driver is going to push all the power. Yeah, if you look at a Kush right now as you tune, the wattage definitely moves around. That's the old school style of spectrum tuning. There are some other lights out there on the market that spectrum tune. They have a similar situation where you lose power as you tune. No, moving forward, anything that we have that's the next gen after the Alpha, you're going to be able to move whatever wattage we tell you that light is. If it's, the Kale's 250 watts, you can slam that 250 watts all warm, or you can slam it all cool. Same with the Dragon Alpha. You can move that 600 watts into, a full far red spectrum. and it's all there for you. So, I mean, there's a video on Scynce Cultivation of me playing with the alpha, and you can see my PPFD levels never drop. And I'm switching from full spectrum all the way over to far red, and I'm losing maybe 100 PPFD as I tune through that. Now, the technology on that new driver is amazing. And again, that was all an in-house thing. And we're really excited when the engineers got that figured out, because that brings that full power availability. You're not losing any of that penetration in the canopy, because along with getting the cross beaming and the higher PPFD, that brings, leaves are flat. They come in like this. So bringing that in at an angle deeper into the canopy, then we're going to get those lowers a lot happier for everybody too.
I have a question concerning power there. Do your lights come easily changed over to 220? Is it just a matter of cord? Because like myself, guys that are already set up for the older grows here and want to switch over to the LEDs, I'm pumping the 220. So
Yeah.
is it easy to switch your light over to 220? And is there any benefits to running the LEDs on 220?
So yes is the answer to the 220 question. All of our lights come standard 220. You actually need a 110 adapter, because most of the big facilities run 220. So if it's a home grower, you actually have to request the 110 adapter, because the 220, to your point, is the way to roll. So yeah, everything comes standard 220, and where we provide the 110 adapter for free. And then, down the road, we have some other options where we're going to have cord changeabilities on the back of the lights. So if you want to switch over, we got facilities starting to run crazy, like 440s, stuff like that. So it's coming, so we're getting more and more adapted to what we're seeing happening out there in facilities, and hopefully we can bring that to the home grower as well.
Is there a benefit to actually run them at a higher power?
Just as far as energy savings and efficiency, it's cleaner for sure. But that's really what it is. And, it's helpful when we know that, most of these grows that are getting built are on the 220s just because it's more power efficient. Because a lot of times you talk to a guy that's coming in with an LED, now people are starting to learn the LEDs are amazing lights, but before they were going to LED because of the cost savings, reimbursements from the state, that kind of stuff. So that's where that 220 comes from. It's just to increase the efficiency.
I've noticed a little bit since I've swapped, because I was running, what I've got on 110 there for a while, and then when I swapped them over into this box that the flower cycle that's in now is 220, and I actually noticed a difference in the fixtures running cooler. So is that something you would notice with your lights as well?
Yeah, 100%. It's just the 220 is just a more efficient power source for them. So they just run cooler, more efficient, more of the energy is getting converted to light instead of getting lost as heat. So that's what you're noticing with that changeover.
So what I'm hearing is more of a longevity of the light.
Also, totally, for sure. And with the way that we run our lights with our power sources is the diodes don't actually go at full tilt. They're at a reduced rate of power that they're getting so that they last longer. We have a 5-year warranty on everything, but we haven't been around long enough to see these things last 8 years, but we've run them that many hours, and the LED and the diodes hold up. So there's some secondary things that we're doing with our drivers to make our lights even more efficient for the long haul and longevity of the light, for sure.
I think the way you guys test them right now, because like you said, there's no way that you can test them, in the actual light cycles that they ran in. But what you do is you're probably running them just 24 hours a day nonstop, and that's running them at their max. I mean, that's pushing them. They're constantly hot and trying to match that number with no shut off.
Yeah.
It says that's a test right there. I mean, we're definitely not going to run that light in our atmosphere 24 hours for 5 years.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to take some breaks.
Yeah, so, for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, we throw everything we can at these lights. Like I said, we've thrown them in pools. We left them on in a chlorine bath at like stupid levels of like nobody would ever clean their room with that high of chlorine gas, but we had it in there, running it as hard as we could. So yeah, as well as making sure that we're getting a good, efficient fixture, we want to make sure we have a durable one. I mean, we realize that the price point on these lights is not cheap. So we want to make sure you're getting everything you can out of these lights, because you know we're not out here, you know, trying to upcharge for this kind of stuff. We want the technology in growers' hands, and we want to make sure it's quality technology that's going to last you guys years, because we're on the other side pushing forward new software, new spectrum. What can we do next? And for the longer you guys keep your lights and keep using them, giving us feedback, I mean, it's a perfect loop for all of us involved.
For sure. There's something that I wanted to comment actually, was, you know, the fact that how tough your lights are. And I remember the first time I saw a YouTube video of the raging kush in a pool of water and the spectrum being tuned on it. And I was blown away. I was like, no way, this thing's going underwater. Like, get out of town. And then I found out how your company started out and what your company, the CEO, the company was affiliated with before. Can you inform everybody how your company started out and how it proceeded from its original funding?
Yeah. So yeah, Rigid, the off-road lights, Rigid truck lights. Yeah. You'll still see them around.
Yep.
But yeah, that company was developed to, you know, throw the light as far into the desert as you could get it on these off-road truckers. And so a lot of that was adopted into what we do at Scynce. And then we also have another side project that we work on called Cineo, which does NBC stage lighting. So, you know, you get things like SNL and that kind of stuff, and you need to switch around your lighting really fast. You know, we throw that technology in there. So we have a couple of different projects where that lighting technology is getting tossed around. But yeah, originally all came from Rigid. You know, when I came to the company, you know, being an IPM guy and being a head grower and a general manager at these facilities, I don't know how many times somebody would pull a dripper out of a line during irrigation and it's spraying up into the l.e.d, you know, just covering or God forbid if it's in a CFH or double-ended. So the fact that these things were waterproof, to me, as somebody that's dealt with IPM, dealt with root aphid issues where you've had to heat treat rooms, I mean, you have to do tremendously weird stuff to these lights that most light companies don't design for. So really nice that Scynce took that into you know, thought. And yeah, Rigid definitely pushes down that road for sure.
I had a question here from Chad earlier, and you know, we all trying to project our eyes, which I'm not obviously doing in my grow room currently. And it's hard because of, you know, they change the spectrum so often. You know, back in the day when l.e.ds come out, they were pushing the old greenies on us. So is there actually a glass, that pair of glasses or something that you suggest for the newer style l.e.ds, or do you think they're even necessary with the more true white spectrum? Can we just wear some regular shades?
Yeah, I definitely recommend at least some regular shades under these lights all the time. I mean, I've been under these for years, and especially in big grow rooms, and you have these things in arrays, you get nailed. You know, the methods are good. There's just nothing that's specifically designed for them yet, like you know, the standard lighting. But whatever you're comfortable with is the short answer to that, because definitely want to wear something. Some people, you know, with the l.e.ds, they're bright, so a regular pair of shades is fine. But you know, whatever you can do to protect. I mean, the nice thing is we don't have a lot of UV, so you're not getting a lot of UV damage. But you know, there's still, the research is still out there on what's actually happening to our eyes when we're under these things all day long. These are transition lenses that I got specifically designed when I was working in l.e.d rooms. They tint a little bit, but not crazy. There's stuff out there, but I definitely recommend. I mean, even if it's just a pair of yellows, just to kind of tint it out a little bit. I mean, that's the biggest concern, is the brightness of the light. You're not going to be getting any UV or IR damage, but it's really bright.
Thank you.
Makes sense. And then I was going to ask you, do you guys produce?
Sorry.
Yeah, do you guys produce your own diodes? Or how do your diodes?
No, we're Osram for the most part, but we have in-house, we have a bunch of different testing machines. We have Crazio photometers that'll spin the lights, and we get the efficiencies of diodes. So we have a tendency to use whatever's the best on the market, and right now that's Osram, so that's who we use. So that's mostly what we have in our lights.
Okay. So you guys obviously print your own circuit boards in house and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's becoming more and more in house. You know, we definitely have ordered things from other suppliers and piecemealed it together to, you know, some of the older models. But as we move down the road, you know, just for to match that warranty and make sure everything's working the way we want it, more and more of that's been happening in house, especially with COVID and the tariffs and everything that's been going on over the past couple of years. Like trying to source everything as close to home as we can is just it's doing us a ton of favors.
And then what color Kelvin of blues and then warm whites are you guys running inside, like say like the Kush and like the Dragon SL and stuff like that? I just wanted everybody to see like how you guys bring together your recipe as far as like the blues and the whites and how they mesh together.
Yeah, so I always forget all of the Kelvin numbers, but they're all on the website under each unit. Not a Kelvin guy, so I don't get those locked in. So, but yeah, if you go to,
it's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, if you go to the website, it'll say everything on what Kelvin values and everything is out there for all that kind of stuff, and it's for each model at 100% density.
Yeah, do you guys have different ones for different models? Like, I'll be honest with you, I haven't looked in that deep yet because I feel like each fixture is like a rabbit hole. Like, if you really like sit there and break down each fixture, each one's kind of got its own benefit, and obviously they're used for different purposes. But there's a lot of technology to there, so that's why I'm not gonna lie, I'm picking a little bit of your brain, but because I know like your Alpha uses 70-degree optics, right? So what's the benefit of the 70-degree optics versus like the 120 in that type of application? I guess is more like that. Like that's more what I'm interested. To be honest, I can look up numbers any day. I just was just curious more the optics. I was asking some questions to ask, so that's all.
Yeah, no, totally. So really, all of our spectrums on all of our lights are really similar, especially right now with the new app update. We're like any other lighting company where we definitely think that there's a spectrum that works well for our lights. So on the app now, if you open up the app, we have a preset veg, we have a preset flower. Those are the spectrums that we recommend. Those spectrums stay really similar between all of our flowering lights. So the Kush, the Dragon SL, the Dragon Alpha, all those spectrums can be reached. The only difference between the Alpha and the other lights is you can favor that far red channel, and there's a little more far red in the Alpha, and you can favor that channel independently. Where that red is available to you in the Kushes and the SLs, it's just not independently controlled. It's blended in with the 660. So there is our spectrum overall is pretty similar. The one that deviates a little bit is the Kale, just because there's less red in that light as it's designed for a veg light. So it doesn't push as far down that red spectrum and it doesn't get the peaks that our other lights do. But overall, if you buy one of our lights and you run the flower setting, you're pretty much going to be running the same spectrum on any of our fixtures. So really similar to that. The difference between the optics on the Alpha is that light was designed for greenhouses and for high bays. So what happens is the 70 degrees, since they run, it's a 70-degree linear light lens instead of a circular one. So it'll throw 70 degrees and 120 so that your spread's a lot better. So when that light is really high above your canopy, the spread's right where you want it at, like, 32 inches, 36 inches. Also, it brings us the ability to line up more diodes under each one of those strips. We're limited under those little circles on how many diodes can be in each one of those. Where the strips get double the diodes of those. So the Alpha, the PVFD levels on the Alpha is just way off the charts compared to some of the other stuff, especially at that height.
Okay, see, that makes a little bit more sense. I wasn't sure, to be honest, because I knew like with the Kushes, the 120 was to get that optimal spread everywhere. But then, that's a 4x4 fixture where like the Alpha is like a 5x3.5 foot. So I figured definitely more greenhouse or like big cultivation facilities where you just got fucking rows of them slapped all the way across. And, you're just hitting tons of like, big 5-foot wide tables, and you're just like kind of like poetry of plants, to be honest with you, is the first person I think of when I think of a bunch of nice dragons just stacked up. Or like if I think greenhouse, the first thing I think is Mendo 2020 Mendo.
Yep.
Those guys are awesome what they do in the greenhouse. That's for sure. Those their IG rep is the person that I first spoke to that even said anything about your company that said, "Oh, bro, it's on the next level. You got to see the way it's built." And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "It's not just a way. It's just like the optics and this and that. You don't understand. When you pick up the light, it's like a Rolex. You're gonna be like, oh, this is a Rolex." And that was just the first thing that I remembered. So I was like, so what is the difference? Is it more canopy penetration? But that makes a little bit more sense because you're going to be penetrating more this way and achieving that way. So, okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, yeah, and the single bar lights, obviously, that's the nice thing about the Cush is you get the array with the Cush. All of our single bar lights are, I mean, intense, you're fine, but if you're over at a table, you want multiple of those so that you're getting that same effect that the Cush gets. So that's the nice thing about a Cush, especially if you have like a 5x5, 4x4 area to light, is you get the built-in array. So that's what makes that light so powerful as a single unit. So there's a lot of those multi-bar lights out on the market, which we always try to do something a little different than everybody else is doing. But I mean, the necessity for that to come already in array for a home grower or for a pallet rack guy or whatever was just paramount. So it was, yeah, that's why it's designed that way for sure.
Oh, I want in. I want in for a second here. Well, we got a couple of questions here from chat.
Perfect.
But one of them I kind of want to deal with directly is, well, they both kind of deal with price point here. And one is, what is the price point of the lights? And the other one is asking him how does his lights compare to the HLG? Well, I want to field that before I flip it over to Greg. To be very honest with you, I don't even work with him. I don't work for the company. I'm not sponsored at all, but I can tell you this much by what I see. What the difference is besides price point is HLG is a nice light that it does kick ass, but you're stuck with their spectrum and whatever they're dealing out with you now. So far, HLG's put us out 3 good lights, but again, you're forking out every time they stick a new light under your nose. And this year, because it's a little bit different board and they've added some red, get your wallet out. With Synergy, you're working with them. You're able to change the spectrum as the science of the spectrum it changes. They're updating you and going, hey, you might want to tweak this out a little bit versus HLG's going to sell you another board next year. I think that would be the first and biggest difference right there. I mean, there might be a little bit of money in the price point, but what you can do with the light over time saves. You're not going to buy the light 2 or 3 times because the spectrum's changed. That'd be my first and foremost thought. Greg, what you want to field that question?
Sure. Yeah. No. I mean, look, HLG makes nice lights. I've seen a lot of growers have really good success with HLG. Nothing but love for those guys. Yeah. To your point, I mean, yeah, that's true. And in talks, so there's things you can do adjusting the spectrum with their lights. Intensity changes, raising and lowering their lights that can affect how their lights grow as well. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest difference is the adaptability long term, which is what we hope to do, and just the durability of the lights, and to a point, there's some design differences. We kind of want to get away from that quantum board look. We definitely think there's some different designs that we can put out on the market that's going to be a little better for us, but. Yeah, no, HLG is a great light. I mean, I've grown with them before. I think the quality, if you're growing with a quality l.e.d, we're here to support you 100%. But yeah, that's what you pointed out is I think is the biggest changes. Are you going to be able to bump that? When the new technology comes out or the new information on what's pushing plants or heck, how many different cultivars do you run every year? Maybe your OG Kush does better under one spectrum than your cookies does, or whatever. I mean, have that adaptability in your grow. I mean, you're future proofing what you're doing. So if you're going to buy one light for 5 years and all of a sudden the hot thing on the street like it is now is GMO, that's like an 80-day finisher, and you want to shorten that time, we've had guys shorten their GMO with our lights, because they can tune that spectrum for their cultivar. So the adaptability is definitely what I point to there.
Nice. Another question.
I'm glad you brought that up about the cultivar. Sorry, go ahead, Eagle. Another question,
We got a
please.
couple more questions. And again, I have no affiliation here, but they want to know: could there be a price break for the Gromies of the show at some point? If they're looking into the light. And the next question comes from 692664, and he is asking, when will the next Raging Kush 2.0 be coming out, more or less?
Sure. So the first question on there is the discount. We could probably work something out. What I will say right now is we just threw a bunch of really nice scratch and dent Dragon SLs in the online store, which is a smoking price. I think they're $795, which is amazing for that light. We are currently sold out of everything. The only lights we have in house right now are Dragon SLs. We're about to get a big push through of a bunch of new stuff. So you're going to see more of that kind of discounts and stuff going on once our production catches up to our demand, because we just haven't been able to keep up with everything that's going on. But here in a couple of weeks, we're going to be in full stride. So you'll be seeing more deals for everybody involved. And yeah, certainly, a little love to the Eagle crew, totally fine. The 2.0 Kush, which is a rumored unit, with the new technology, with the new driver, it would be silly not to put that in our next increase in the Kush. So we are looking at that possibly being around at the end of the year. There's no hard dates on it yet, so it's still kind of floating around out there. We're working on some different things on, right now shipping a 4x4 unit out to single growers has been, kind of a struggle. So we're working on trying to get that light so that it's easier to ship. And so there's other things going on with that Raging Kush besides just bringing that new power source to the table. So when it hits, it's going to hit hard, and we're hoping, 2021, that'll be out something around.
You got some questions, Sergeant?
I do got some questions. I just wasn't sure if you were done. And to be honest, I felt bad. I needed to be looking at chat, and then I was just a little guilty and told chat, sorry, I was nervous.
That's what I'm for. That's what I'm here for.
So,
that's what I'm here.
I know, Eagle. That's why you're the best. Let's see here.
Please.
Let's see here. So, we actually already covered that. Let me see here. Oh, so something that I was going to touch on earlier. Now I remember, and then this question reminded me of my notes. This is why I write down my notes. So what makes the spectrum tuning ideal for different cultivars? But more than anything, this is something that I'm interested in now. Look, there's a lot of people out there that want to be breeders. And I'm not going to tell you that I want to be a breeder to, at least at this moment, to pay my bills. I got friends that just keep rubbing off on me, and they keep telling me you should bedazzle with it. And I'm just curious, what would be the benefit of the spectrum tuning, do you think, more or less, with different cultivars and for breeders? Because all that went through my mind was if you really, got something rolling, you could dial it in a certain way. But I don't know. Like, let me let you dial on that, because I feel like you have more experience on the subject. I'm still a green pea when it comes to all that stuff.
Sure. Yeah. So we are working with a couple breeders right now that I'm really excited to kind of see what comes down the pipeline. Stone Ninja is one of them. You mentioned 2020 earlier. Does breeding with a certain spectrum? What I'd like to have long term is, here's our cultivar, here's the spectrum we ran it under. We had the most success, right? So you can come out with here's my new pack of seeds. We recommend this look on a light, on a Scynce light for your best optimal performance, which that would be huge at the end of the day. But in a simple breeding, looking at it is like I was saying, it's general health, right? Like, where we used to have to breed these plants for an environment, like, hey, I'm on the western slope of Colorado, I need a plant that's going to hold up to dry conditions. It's going to hold up to, a lot of sun, a lot of cold. We don't breed for that anymore. We breed for bag appeal. We breed for weight. We breed for, so what are you going to grow? I have guys that want to run cultivars that I got to have 2.5 pounds per light. I have other guys that grow, and I don't give a shit what my weight is. I just want the bag appeal, so when it comes to breeding, being able to run with one light you know, hey, this is going to be my round of, you know, hype strain. This is going to be my Skittles, my little producers, my Frosty stuff. But then next round, I want to breed some big fatties. Maybe you can't do that with every light, but with our light, you can switch it around where you want to go with what you're doing that round, what that project is for you that go around it. You know, a lot of the times we had to grow cultivars for our grow. You know, you'd pop a bunch of beans, one didn't play well with your setup, that plant's down the road. But now you can keep playing with that plant. You know, if you want to change the spectrum and pull the petioles out a bit, you can get that petiole elongation running the blues in the morning, reds at night. And then, you know, you can torque that plant where you want it to be under that spectrum and then breed for what you're looking for. So the variation just becomes infinite at that point when you can control your light.
That's for sure. That's one reason that I'll be honest. Yeah, I miss that you guys had, because my ultimate thing is I don't have a lot of space. I have a small little piece that I set aside for this project that I'm hoping to do in the future, and I need like a 3x3 light. And you know, there's always that HPS side of me where I'm like, fuck it, throw a cushion there. Who gives a fuck? Just dim it down. But then there's the other side of me is like, you can't fit that in that box, man.
Yeah.
So so it's like I miss one of your older, smaller lights. I would really look forward, I guess, for someone like myself that wants to have like 2 little 3x3 chambers, but to have a light like yours that I don't need to raise it, I don't need to lower it. I just need to go on my phone and go, hey, I want to like this. Hey, we're doing this. To be honest with you, what I would really like to see is what I think would be Kit's next mode would be something where you could have a whole preset where you could go phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5, but hit play. And it does the phases automatically according to the parameters you put it. 63 days, 65 days. Now, granted, things happen, shit changes, and I get that. But it'd be really dope if you had plug and play, like hit play. Sweet. I'm sure you guys are working on that, because I was the most excited earlier. The fact you can have the same power the whole way through, any way you change the spectrum, you're not going to lose any yield that way. That to me was more important. But I was just curious, do you guys maybe think about looking into things like that in the future?
For sure. Yeah. No, that's definitely, when I was talking about earlier, that new laptop connectivity, that's a big play in there. I mean, right now we're kind of limited with an app. You have one screen, how much you can display information wise on that screen, how much you can program. But, you know, if we bring in these next gens where we're going to start being able to hook up more potent communication equipment, that's coming. We've been asked for that a lot, to be able to just, you know, especially from these bigger producers of like, hey, I want the same run every time. Can I just program my 55, 60-day run in? Yeah, you know, we're definitely working towards that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, we really want that to come around. But yeah, that's definitely on the table for next projects for sure.
I will say I did like the fact that I put when I was ready for that phase, because to be honest with you, it should be up more to grow, and you should be in your garden more often. You should make that decision. But it is nice to be like, hey, you know what? Can I get this baseline structure to see what you guys recommend all the way through? And then I'll go, I want to change that, and I want to change that, but I'm going to leave everything else the same. Just something like that. Like, but the one thing that I like is you guys are the only light that lets you tweak things. So that's huge. I guess it's kind of like the first smartphone, you know, they said, oh, you could check your email. And then somebody said, fuck email. I want to check on what's going on Google. And
Right.
then, you know, the game changed, and it's all because of collaboration with people up with ideas and sharing these ideas with each other. So that's like, I would love to see that, because I feel like when you said that on the desktop version, the first thing that went through my mind is that's what I would be doing. Is I would be running a desktop, because ideally, if you could have one desktop, and I'm sure facilities do this, but forgive me because I don't have a facility, to have a desktop that ran my light spectrum as well as my environmental controllers, and to be able to hit plug and play and to come up with something that adjusted my VPD as well as my light spectrum and my CO2 levels. But the best part is I just hit fucking play and it just happens.
Yep.
Because to be honest with you, the biggest problem when you let a person control that It's human error. Oh, fuck, I forgot. Oh, I was stoned, or this and that. Where if you have something you just hit, no matter what, this produces 95% efficiency of I'm happy with. That's I'm pretty happy with that, considering the fact you guys already come with groundbreaking technology, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I went from running 6 Raging Kush 100% on every channel intensity. And when I cut them down to the stage 4, I saved 1100 watts right off the gate.
Yeah.
That was huge for me. To see something that just did that automatically all the way through, I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, we're excited for that too. And I mean, and honestly, to your point, I mean, that's what we listen to, you know, is when we get out and we talk to growers about what the next steps are, you know, they were the ones that started mentioning that, yo, we want to see the whole run, or like some of the stuff that came with the new app on how to set up your recipes, having multiple recipes, all that kind of stuff is kind of come through from us talking back and forth with growers, and, you know, getting people like myself in the building on staff to say, hey, this is what we've been looking for all these years. Are we ready to take it down that path? And Scynce says yes every time. You know, we're going to do everything we can to get everything we can to the growers. So it's been super exciting.
I love that you guys did that, because I'm pretty sure you guys did the alpha based on you guys' feedback you guys got back from growers that you guys work with, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were doing 100-degree, 70-degree testings out there. You know, a lot of the guys, you know, obviously we're down here in Arizona, so we have a lot of guys running greenhouses down here. So we had the SLs going up. We had 1200 watt lights going up before that. I mean, we've gone through a few versions of all these lights at this point, and every time people are like, I'd like to see this, this, and this. And the design team brings that together with the engineers, and they put it out on the table, and they've been able to solve a lot of issues. I mean, you look at the Dragon Alpha, not only is that throw better, but it's actually slightly shorter than the SL, because we don't want to be blocking out your natural sunlight in your greenhouse. You're still trying to get as much of that natural sunlight in there when you have it available as you can, right? So you don't want this big black bar hanging over your top of your crop. So a lot of those design elements have come from what we've seen in the field and what growers have asked us to do.
You know what? I totally, I think that's something you guys listen to your growers, get your feedback, and that's how you grow. I mean, not just literally grow a plant, but I mean, you grow as in knowledge base, because I personally feel when you collaborate, you're gonna get better results. 2 heads think better than one, and so on and so forth. So I don't mean to sound corny, but more than anything, it is more that way. You should cater to the person that's going to use the fixture, and that's the grower. And that's why, to me, when I remember the features you guys had, like, you know, hey, I love the Dragon. To be honest, I told you earlier, I'm looking for a bullshit excuse to buy an Alpha. But more than anything, like, for me, I really liked that it was the fanless style of light, and not that the regular Dragon SL isn't a light. I just like that it is fanless, because I remember, and this is, you laugh at me right now, but every ballast I've ever bought that had like a built-in fan, I always had bad luck with. But I had these old fucking what was it, Luminex, or what is it, no, Lumitech purple ballasts that were no hands. They were super old, man. I bought them for $50 each. Those things are still running like a 2000. And that was just my story. And that was just my story, where I was like, hey, you know what? Just running off of some really good heat sinks, this thing, well, now granted, there could have been 500 other people that were like, hey, this shit doesn't work. This sergeant's full of shit. I'm just sharing what works for me. So to me, like, I like that you guys have different lights that work with different things, as far as like you got a cooling fan or not. Because I always just look at, and everybody knows this about me, I have this mad like control issue. So one less thing to go wrong, I'm like, yeah. I'm just kind of a little bit control freak. So I don't know. I just kind of like that. I don't know if I kind of drifted off there. I apologize.
You're good. Just to clarify, the Alpha does have a fan in it. That unit does have a fan. The Cushes and the Kales don't. The Raging lines don't have fans, but the Alpha does have a fan. What I can say, I'm going to get the car company wrong, is that the fans that we do use in the Alpha are like the headlights fans for a Mercedes, some ridiculous thing. That, like, they're meant to be out on the road going 100 miles an hour, you know, like anything we throw at them. And of course, all of our fans are covered under the 5-year warranty as well. But yeah, I mean, I run into that a lot. I think I brought that up earlier. Is like the fans are always a fail point. And over the years, anything that I've had with a fan in it, you know, yeah, I'm right there with you for sure. So.
And that's why I said, like, that was just my story with it, because I got a buddy who uses Nanolux ballasts, and he's had them for over 7 years. He's never had a fucking issue with them whatsoever. And he laughed at me when I told him about the fan thing, and he goes, "You are old school, man." And I just said, "Hey, dude, you know what? Like, what do you want me to tell you? I'm coming onto the new game. I'm learning.
Yeah.
You're
Do you
right,
have
though, Pepper. You're
any
absolutely right.
questions, Eagle?
I actually just swapped out a ballast tonight. Same thing you just said, and it was like, an attestament to you, Greg. When I swapped out that ballast tonight, it's not like I bought a new ballast, but as I was swapping them out, I said to myself, this is the last fucking time I am doing this. But yeah, just like Pepper said, I had a nice Galaxy ballast that I paid good money for, that all computerized, fanned up, and that thing took a shit way before the iPower ballast that I fucking replaced it with no fans and just heat sinks. That thing, it sucks to replace something that you paid a good money for something that's like, man, this thing's still running. I guess it's gonna work until I can get this more expensive thing fixed.
Yeah, it's just crazy like that. Everybody shares their story. And I think like there's like one company out there, I'm not gonna say their name, but they got this what seems like a really cool little clip-on oscillating fan. And to be honest with you, this thing is notorious for burning out on you. It might even light your tent on fire, but I'm not gonna say their name. And all I'm gonna say is if you see a clip-on fan that's really cheap that oscillates, probably a reason it's really cheap, man. Trust me, I know, because I've had 3 burn out on me, and we're not gonna say anything, but I think y'all know who I'm talking about on Amazon. But did you have any other questions for Greg?
I think you guys covered pretty much, a good swath of it. I mean, not unless he wants to dip into his, growing techniques and IPM. I mean, that's a whole nother realm. I'm sure he could dip into and give some tips. But as far as the science of l.e.ds, man, I think he's put forth a lot of info tonight. Enough for us to digest for a few minutes and decide what to do next. That's for sure. Like I said, I myself am sold on l.e.ds. I am just waiting for these dinosaurs to fizzle out today. If it wouldn't have been for actually having another ballast to swap that one out, I'd have been one step closer tonight. Because I am not spending that kind of money for another ballast involved just to get up and running. I'll be on my way to a good portion of a new fixture and be done with it for a good portion of time. So yeah, as these things die out, they're most definitely, just like I said, dying out and being replaced with l.e.ds. And man, I'd like to thank you guys for like pushing it forward as hard as you guys can. You guys are crushing it as far as innovation goes, and I admire that. I like new things, but I like techie new things.
Yeah, for sure. We're definitely, when we show up at, which maybe a thing of the past, we'll see, but when you're at MJ Biz and you see 82 different LED lighting booths, out there at MJ Biz, but everything is the Fluent Spider rerun over and over and over again. We definitely want to be that company out there that's trying to bring you guys something different, trying to listen to what you guys need and make sure that we're making something that is for the industry long term, solutions for energy savings and better plant growth. I mean, that's what we're all about for sure.
The only other question I did see, and I guess it's a fairly good question, is do your lights come assembled, or is there DIY kits that you can save a little bit of money on?
Everything comes assembled. Yeah, so currently everything comes fully put together. Just because we're waterproof, all those connections have to be, made in house, silicone coated, all that kind of stuff. there may be some other stuff, you know, like Sergeant was talking about earlier, some home grower options that we want to get back into. We used to make a short version of the Dragon SL that was shorter for home growers and that kind of stuff. So we're hoping to, you know, once we get our footing in the you know, the production industry, we're gonna start bringing some of that stuff back out for you guys.
Nice. They were asking to see some lights.
Oh, good.
They
Yeah,
wanted
nice.
to see them in action.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and pin you up there.
Yeah, that's the Kush there.
Looking pretty good too.
Oh yeah, he's killing it.
It's the light, man. This light's fucking killer, man. This light's killer. Like I'm not trying to sit here and promote crazy. I started out with another brand, l.e.d lights. And I've had different lights, and I'm not bashing on anybody, but this was just the first light that I was like, whoa, this is a fucking real deal here. All right, let's see what this thing can do. And so far, I mean, the big HPS head, man. All I did was HPS this, HPS that. And a lot of my younger friends always kind of made fun of me, like, oh, this guy's an HPS guy. He's old school. And Eagle's always been very neutral, where he's like, well, Sarge, you know, you might want to check it out, like, you know. And all I gotta say is, so far, they do not disappoint. They do not disappoint.
They're looking really good, man. Yeah.
I just like more than this, how far down the canopy this thing penetrates. I mean, if you look like right here, you know, this is roughly almost 3 feet from the light to right here on the side. And I still got some good sized nugs right there. So I only seen that with an HPS light. Now with your lights, like, it goes all the way through and then it's pretty even. So I don't know. I like the results.
Yeah, those raging Christians are doing the trick for you for sure. Yeah, you guys great penetration there. Everything's looking real nice.
Green 13 would like to know, do you have a UK supplier?
We don't currently have a UK supplier, unfortunately. Yeah, no, we've been working on trying to find one over there for a while. Right now, it's basically US and Canada. Geoponics is our distributor up in Canada. We have a distributor in South Africa and a few others scattered around, but none in the UK right now, unfortunately. This is the Kushes, if you guys want to see, are the Kales. This is the veg light that we run. And I know Pepper's actually growing, but I can show you guys the tilts. There's the cool spectrum all the way over to the warm. And that's full power, 250 watts all the way through there and anywhere in between. And you can kind of see that was down at like 1%. So that's, you won't be able to see much with me at 100%. But it is a pair of veg lights here. So there's basically a single bar of what Sergeant's running there with the Kush. So you can get a better idea what they look like. These are our entry level, like, price point lights, awesome lights. They're basically one bar of the Kush. And you guys probably won't be able to see real well, but that's what the app looks like. So it's just simply a slider that you can run to tilt it wherever you want. And then all of the things are programmable and everything, like we were talking about earlier. So all the different lights have different sliders and the way that they're set up and everything else. But yeah, you can see on these the optics that we were talking about, the 120s, the single little round dots. You can't see all that well. But yeah, that's you're seeing the Kushes up there on Sergeant, and these are the Kales.
Nice lights.
They're nice. I mean, one of these will do this. This is a 4x2. So one of these will do a 4x2, but I have two because I'm gonna have my bombs in the back and my clones in the front. So it'll be a nice little split on what I want to do with spectrum and everything else.
I like it. Pepper,
Yeah,
we can barely hear you, my friend.
Sorry, I had a power surge. Where I live and where I'm at, we're struggling with some power surges right now. I'm actually running on cellular right now versus my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it looks like you're gonna have a nice harvest for your first run under them lights. That's for sure.
I know, right? I'm pretty excited, Eagle. This is all the Eagle Scout right here. Everything's looking pretty nice under that 4x8 with the cushions right over there. And then right over here, this is all the hog and then also the great bait. Oldie but a goodie. And then the Caesars is just, it's just fucking packed in there, you know.
You gotta like the fact if you're probably running at about half the power and still being able to produce all that tank.
You don't even know, Eagle. I mean, I've seen, you know, but all I gotta say is I'm so happy that I made the switch because, first of all, when I got my first power bill in flour, I wanted to pop open a fucking bottle of champagne. And then the second thing was all the size nugs because I was skeptical. I'm not gonna lie, it was a big plunge and I was skeptical. But when I come into the room and I see beauty like this, I get super pumped, man. I'm like, these lights are the real deal. That's why I asked Greg to join us because I wanted to share the wealth of knowledge and tell people about these lights. And I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but they're really good lights, and I thought it would be a great add-on to our show.
For sure, for sure. Tim wanted to know who was your distributor again in Canada?
In Canada, it's Geoponics. And if you hop on our website, you can order. If you're in Canada, it'll link you directly over to Geoponics site. It's a clone site of ours, and you'll be able to order whatever you want from them. But yeah, Geoponics Solution is the Canadian distributor.
Chris Martinez would like to know, could you flower under the Raging Kill since you can change the spectrum?
Yeah, we have a flower setting for these. I actually just did some East Coast Sour Diesel under these compared to the Alpha, which is our big bad flower light. And I actually really love the results that the Kale gave me. Not as much frost as I could get with the Alpha, certainly with the far reds, but terpenes were all there. Really impressed with this little light. This light for an entry-level light is amazing. You know, if you're really not concerned about your Emerson effects and really pushing your photosynthesis, this light will do anything you need it to do. It's an amazing little light. I'm really impressed with the spectrum on it.
Sorry, we don't bash on anybody, but I'm sorry, we don't bash on anybody, but But I just wanted to say we don't bash on anybody, okay? So the fourth fucking fan! Sorry, I had to get that off my chest. But that's the Kale, guys. I had to get that off my chest. That's the Kale. And these plants are all re-vegging, by the way, so some of them look a little weird. But the crazy part is this one bar really does do a 2x4 pretty nicely, because that's what this tent is. This tent's actually a 2.5 foot by 4.5 foot tent, and there's more than enough space to cover it, in my opinion. But you know, I only got in here like what, 7 plants, and they all bouncing back from the re-veg. And then this is still another light that I have. I have a HLG blue spec right over there. But, you know, and it does well too. But this is the light that the reason I wanted to invite Greg to the show was because more than anything, when you look real close at the slide, I don't know if the camera's going to get it, but you'll see how some of the little diodes are blue and orange. And when you get that mixed spectrum, it's just a little bit different where when you look at other ones, and I'm not, again, this is definitely not bashing anybody, you'll look, it's not as drastic of a change right here. They almost look the exact same minus that blue row right there. Where what I liked, what you brought up, Eagle, was that's like one set. Like there's no way we're changing that. Where Greg just said, you could change this to flower You can veg with this. You can do anything. And if you wanna try this light company out and you wanted something to test them out, this is a great light to get started with. Because you can flower then veg with it. But also another thing that I've seen other people do with it is you can use it for side lighting as well. And I'm sure in a larger facility, because it's still gentle enough to the point where you can bring it real close and still get some good results.
Yeah, 100%. We have a lot of people that run that as a side light. It's a pricey side light, but it definitely does the trick. I mean, I've seen people mount those things all ways of crazy. They're beasts, and since with the way the heat sinks run and everything, there's no problem running them any direction you want in your grow. And yeah, if you want to put them on 10% intensity and run it all blue and under your canopy just to get that kick. Yeah, I've seen people do crazy stuff with those Raging Kales, and they're a great entry point into our lights for sure.
And I just wanted to point out, this is what Greg was talking about earlier, as far as to connect to something like a Troll Master or something like that, if you had a power surge. Now, earlier, it was actually the perfect example where I had a power surge, but my lights came back on and the recipe was fine. And I still got my old school Helios 8 right there that I got all my lights plugged into, but he is the one that's doing all the controlling through the Troll Master right here. So I literally bought this light because I live somewhere where there's power surges quite a bit in summer. So that's when I said, we better buy the Thea controller just to make sure. And so far it has not failed.
Nice. Good to hear, man. That's a good little control setup you got running right there. It's looking real clean. Yeah, and yeah, the ability, we got a lot of guys that love the Troll Master is great equipment, and we want to be able to. You can run that through Vita controllers and stuff as well. One point that I will make that I've seen a lot of people that have wanted to switch over to LEDs, doing a mixed spectrum with HPS LED to get you started, and having tremendous success. The HPS mixed in with a Dragon SL, or I've seen either people just put tails around with their HPSs. Bringing in that secondary spectrum is amazing, and if you can run your lights through all those same controllers that you've had for a long time, it's really important that people are able to do that. So yeah, I'm glad you've got the Echo to keep you backed up there. That's definitely a good move.
So I just want to point this out, the reason why I love the Echo. So if you'll notice on my little controller wall thing that I built right here, you'll see that I have this surge protector, but it's upside down. And I'm going to tell you why. When I built this little piece of plywood, I put it upside down on purpose, because every time when I walked in my room and I walked by here, this is kind of a tight little hallway to get through. I would walk by and bump the fucking timer right over here on this wall. And I would get so pissed because every time I nicked by it, I was like, oh shit. So when I built this, that was the first thing that went through my mind, was like, we're going to flip it upside down so I don't bump into the timer. When I found out what this did, I said, fuck that timer. So, that's just another reason why I really like your company, because the biggest thing, like I said, that's the biggest factor that people don't realize is human error. And, don't get me wrong, computers fail. They do. They fail. But the likelihood that your computer's going to fail versus a person's going to fail is like, night and day, in my opinion. But I work for a tech company and I'm kind of a tech guy. So I also like the tech side of your lights. But that just goes to show you that even I built this way because I got tired of bumping into the damn timer when I was going through this hallway.
I love chat, by the way. I love chat. Cheapo Man says, okay, Greg, you've sold us the car. Now let's talk pricing.
He's ready to fucking finance and drive away today. What payment could you get me out, baby? What payment could you get me out?
All right, well, so we'll start with the base model, the Raging Kale behind me here. Those run $495. Something like the Kush that you're looking at in Sergeant's Row there, that's a $12.95 light. Like I said, the SL, we have some deals going on scratch and dents on those right now. Pricing on that's $995. And then the Dragon Alpha, which is the new, that's an $1195 unit right there. So that's most of your price points covered for you. Look for deals from us. All of our, we really rely on our hydro shop partners. Really appreciate them. They have a little more wiggle room on pricing. They can always beat us. So if you have a local hydro store that you're shopping with, hit them up, tell them that you want them to be a Scynce dealer. We'll see what kind of deals we can get for them. We'll see what kind of deals we can get for you. But definitely shop, l.e.d, Grow Lights Depot, that kind of stuff. I mean, they can definitely work some deals that we can't on pricing. But always welcome to head to our website and buy direct from us. And then, reach out to me on Science Cultivation if you have any other questions or anything like that. And, if we're going to do multiple lights, of course, there's always breaks on pricing at that point. So reach out to us, pick our brains a little bit. We're always happy to answer any questions. Scynce l.e.d on IG is our main account, and they're always up. And Science Cultivation, you'll get me directly every time. So yeah, hit us up.
I just want to say, if you do hit Greg up, please, let him know that you did see him on the show. Let him know that, his appearance was worth his time, for sure.
It's been great. And yeah, I'm happy to come back. If you guys want to chop up IPM or any kind of that kind of stuff, I'm always happy to come back and talk non-lighting cannabis stuff with everybody. It's all I talk about most of the day anyway. So if we want to chat it up some more, I'm always happy to come back through.
Oh, we're gonna chat IPM, Greg. You and I are gonna chat IPM for sure. You don't even know what you did there. It was really a pleasure having you on the show, Greg. I'm not kicking you out or anything. I just wanted to say thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Because I was super pumped to bring you on because, a couple of people have seen me talk up your lights. And I was like, well, you know what? I'll bring the data to you. And I'll bring somebody who can speak better on the fixtures and more on the lights than I can. I can tell you whatever brochure I read and what data I have, but I'm going to tell you somebody who knows the real deal that actually helped me change my lighting and is going to help and put things together. So that was another thing I wanted to point out was the thing that I like about you guys the most is your customer service. It makes it really if you feel like, hey, it's a silly question, you don't ever make me feel like I asked a silly question. You'll just be like, sure, Sarge, boom, 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 and you answer my question. Or if you're like, hey, let me dial out your room, give me a couple of days, and I want to make sure I get it right for you. And sure enough, my email was there waiting for me. So I wanted to also share that with everybody in chat. So thank you for coming on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we appreciate all the support on your end too. We're always happy when a grower comes back to us and is excited to use the lights. And like you've pointed out, you are not sponsored by us in any way. So I mean, it's just all really great feedback from you. So we really appreciate that on your end as well. And we're happy to come on and do this kind of stuff with you guys anytime. And yeah. So definitely appreciate you as well. Thank you much.
Sure.
Yeah, chat's already asking to have you back, by the way. Probably for both light advice and IPM. I mean, that's the thing here about this community, Greg, is, we're open to everybody's thoughts and methods. Great tips come from everywhere. And we're not biased by any means where we get them from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, anytime you're willing to come back and share some pro tips, IPM tips, light advice, whichever you feel like talking about would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, happy to do it. Yeah, like I said, we're going to be doing some stuff out about you. You'll be seeing some more Instagram lives from us. I'm going to be doing some stuff, some college classes on lighting, some of the cannabis universities around. So you'll be seeing more of us, and always be happy to come back to Eagle and chat up whenever. It's always good hanging out with you guys.
Heck yeah. I can't thank you, Sergeant Pepper, enough for making this happen. You got to give credit where credit is due, and I did not put this show together. This was much thank you to Sergeant Pepper. So you guys give him a shout out, and I thank you for putting this together, this info tonight for you. So
sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
no, I
Greg.
appreciate that.
I didn't mean to. Oh, you know what? Before we kick you off, or again, not kicking you off, Greg, you can stay as long as you want. But I understand that you're a businessman and business starts early. I'm sure your day starts tomorrow pretty early.
Yeah, the East Coast growers start hitting me up about 5 o'clock my time. So yeah.
Yeah, that's just a few hours away. Just a few hours away. But I see a good opportunity when I get it. You were a guest tonight, so that applies to the soundbite. I can understand if you haven't caught the show. Many of them are many hours long. They average on 5 hours long, but on average, I try to get at what they do soundbite, the old school soundbite, the radio's station soundbite. And that's kind of what I'm hoping to get from you is something along the lines of, hey, this is Greg Sleby and I'm from Synergy Light l.e.d. and I'm on fucking Talkin Shit with Eagle tonight. Or you can mix it up, say whatever you like, but a little bit of something to finish off your episode with.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. So, all right. Yeah, hi, I'm Greg Sleby, Science Cultivation, Director of Science over at Scynce l.e.d. I've been on Talkin fucking Shit with Eagle tonight, chopping up about lights, having a great time, looking at some amazing grow with Sgt. Pepper and Scynce l.e.d. Welcome to the show.
What a true professional, man. I gave you a shitty build up there and you nailed it, man.
He totally did, right, Eagle?
He did. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much.
No doubt.
I'm looking forward to posting it up.
Awesome. Yeah, well, yeah, thanks so much for having me on, gentlemen. It was a great time, and definitely continue on with the evening and enjoy. And I'll be back. I'll be back for sure. I'll be back to chop it up, no doubt.
Thanks, Greg. I really appreciate
Looking forward
you.
to it.
Anytime, guys. All right. Have a good night.
Good night. Amazing episode, man. Tons of thanks to you, Sgt. Pepper, for making this happen, by the way. Like I said, I tried to give you a little bit of thanks while you was on there, but you made this happen. And, again, I'm very biased about on the light thing. You know as well as I do. I'm not trying to push anybody, and neither are you. But, the fact of it is, it's hard for consumers to see side by side shit. You know what I mean? A lot of companies are just throwing them up there and wanting you to buy them, and very few companies want to, actually come out and acknowledge and talk about their product. So I think it's pretty cool that you got one of them to actually come on and speak with us about their product. I think that's really cool. It says a lot. They're not afraid to back it up, back the science up.
I mean, you're totally right there, Eagle, because, some people may look across, especially like the old school growers might look at it as, oh, the spectrum tuning is gimmicky. And I'm telling you right now, it's no fucking gimmick. There's nothing gimmick about it. It's legit as can be. And I was an HPS grower that was like, oh, HPS for life. And then I tried an l.e.d. and it changed my game. And then when I tried one of these fixtures, you saw how excited I got about it. I got super excited.
Well, you're killing it with them lights. Results kind of say the same thing, man. Can't bitch about results, man.
That's what I'm all about, is the results. I want to see, like, what do these things really do here? Because the thing is, you get all these people out there that throw all these stats and these numbers. Oh, we get this PPFD and that PPFD. And I'm like, that's fine. But what do you have to offer that not everybody else has? And the real reason I like this company is, and like I said, it's not the bash on the companies, is they bring something different to the table. When you look at like a Mercedes and a BMW and like a Lexus, they all have different things to offer, right? You got to think like, what's important to you? Because, what may be important to me, you could give two fucks about. So that's why I think there's a light for everybody. But the thing that I like about this light, I think it's more like, personally, in my opinion, it's like a BMW. The suspension and the tuning on this thing's out of the fucking world. But that's just my opinion. You know, somebody else might say something else. But then again, I haven't run a shitload of LED lights, but I'm also the first person to say that, right? So I don't know. So far, I've run like, you know, about 3 or 4 different brands, and they're doing good. They're doing good. I want to say diplomatic. They're doing real good.
They look like you're doing well. They look like they're doing well, especially with, you know, it's nice that he's talking with you and helping you out a little bit through the process as well, because, you know, kicking it out of the park on your first run without a learning curve isn't easy to do. A lot of lights, there is a little bit of a learning curve, you know, and that's another thing too. Height wise, I like that. Well, a lot of them do dial back, but I do like the fact that you can dial LEDs back now. Sometimes I've got plants. You know that may chase them fuckers right to the roof. So if I have no space left to go, and you know, turning the light down is my only option without messing with the spectrum, or just changing the spectrum is a nice feature, I believe.
I do too, you know. To me, more than anything that he pointed out that I thought was fantastic was, if you know you have someone that's got height restrictions, and then you get a plant like, you know, like GMO that just fucking just stretches up on you, and you're like, oh shit, slow down, and then you can bring those reds down and just bump up those blues, and you can manipulate the plant. I really know another light that you can do that shit with, you know, unless you can go and get a fucking bulb, put a metal halide bulb, keep that shit lower, and then go put an HPS bulb. But I don't know anybody's gonna do that shit.
Right. Well, fucking Pepper, man. We got to do the wise thing here, man. We got to do the wise thing, and that, you know what I've been doing, and I hate doing this, man. You do know what I've seen to my numbers lately? I don't know what to make of it, man, because I've been trying to do the responsible thing of, you know, ending the guest so YouTube can't fuck with it. You know what I mean? And leaving it as is, and then starting the rabbit hole. But man, them numbers
That's
have been
cool.
50-50. You know what I mean? It'd been 50-50. I can't tell if the same people are like watching all of it or like they're divided. Because the number shows they're
That's so
divided.
weird.
I
That's
know
so
it.
weird.
The number actually, you know, that's serious. That's fucking dead serious, man. They're divided. Because on average, before I started doing this, man, the show was creeping up to like 700 views a day. And they're the, if you add the two up, they're still there. They're still there, but like some of them are like the feature show, and some of them are like the second halfers. Man, it's pretty crazy that that's a thing, but there's actually a thing. But you know, such a good info has been laid down tonight. You know, they want the dab song, they want to hang out, they want to party, and you know, I'm ready to smoke down too. To be honest with you, I did not smoke through this whole fucking episode, man. I am jonesing. Let's kill it and come back and fucking talk some light. So if you want to join in with, you know, me and Sergeant Pepper, Smiley, Green 13, and fucking talk some lights and fucking hang out and do some dabs, then let's do that shit. I'll see you guys in a few. Thank you again, Sergeant Pepper. You guys know the deal. Do something nice for somebody. Random acts of kindness change lives. We'll be back in a second. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you in a minute, Sergeant Pepper.